Yeah, we can see your
Yeah.
screen as well. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll start with Manglacharan. So Om Gyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmiltam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajiv Sadvaitam Savajutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakha Vitamsya Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Takta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patita Nama Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Jai. So welcome to everyone who is there to participate. Today we'll be doing something on the relationships. So I'd like to see that we can all make it as interactive and you can participate as much as possible. Don't know who is there, but so let's start with this song here, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Very nice singing by Karuna Bandar as well today. It's a nice bhajans by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and this is one that Prabhupada used to like very much, and he introduced it before his lectures. So, Jai Radha Madhav. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayo Radha Madhava Jayo Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Panachari Yamuna Tira Panachari Jayo Radha Madhava Jayo Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Guru Maharaj, Guru Maharaj, Guru Maharaj, Jaya Guru Maharaj, Nitai Gaur Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaur Haribo, 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 Gaur Premanande, Hari Haribo. So this is a very nice song which Prabhupada was very fond of and sang it before a lecture. And then in Allahabad and Gorakhpur, Prabhupada fell into a trance by singing the first two lines. And soon after some time, he came back to external consciousness, said, now just chant Hare Krishna. Prabhupada said this song is a picture of Vrindavan. Everything is there. So there's Shrimati Radharani, Vrindavan, Govardhan, Yashoda, all coward boys and all that. So very nice to sing this, and it's nice to know this and sing it whenever you can. So anybody wants to read the translation? Krishna is the lover of Radha. He displays many amorous pastimes in the groves of Vrindavan. He is the lover of the coward maidens of Braj, the holder of the great heel named Govardhan. He is beloved son of Mother Yashoda, the delighter of the inhabitants of Raj, and he wanders in the forest along the banks
Is the
of
translation there?
Yamuna. Yeah, it's on the screen, but anyway, I've read it, so it's okay. Okay, so today, when Nabi Prabhu asked me to give a session for today, and I gave a theme basically on relationships, and as I started to look into it, I wasn't sure exactly where it's going to lead me. And as I was doing a bit of work on it, I started to understand and meditate on it for since I committed to it. So I started to realize that it's actually such a vast topic to explore, and we all, experience relationships and good, bad, and all that. So it's very important. There's tons of stuff online and to research. So as I go through these slides, there'll be some aspects of it which you might want to participate, or you might want to contribute, ask questions or anything, share any experience. So by all means, you can do that. But there's tons of experiences. So we can also draw from our everyday experiences, because relationships is something that's part of our life. We're all in good, bad relationships, but we can make them progressive in our understanding as well. There are past relationships, present, future, who knows. So it's shaped our lives, and some of them can be temporary, permanent. Some have been temporary because they have been in relationship, and then now there is no longer connected with people, or I put them in inverted commas, are they permanent, temporary, or what? What about eternal relationships, eternally, so we try to understand all these things. But then we want to try and understand from the Krishna conscious point of view. So as I go through these slides and then present this, I hope that you can gain something from it. So I'd like to have your blessing. It's a part which, but as we start to look into the relationships and I started to Google, and these days technology is such you can just, um, you know, Google anything, put anything, a word down, and then up comes up so many things. So, here's relationships, marriage, 9 ways to deepen your relationship, closer relationships, how to build them, and enjoyable relationships, six stages, but then also like love, cute, romance, broken, trust, mood, all these things are there. Um, and okay. Oh, yeah, okay. I don't know what. And there's obviously family. You can have relationships on Instagram and friendships and couple and all this. So all these are different things you can research, and positive relationships, strong relationships, unhealthy ones. You can Google but again, relationships matter. You see, just like all the other, like Black Life Matters and all that. So I saw these different type of um, infographics and all sorts of things you can produce, which these days, so it makes it relevant. But it's all about, it's all about relationships. Yeah, okay. So we can get that. But these days, with COVID and all that, it's made an impact on how we relate with each other. Walking down the street, we just keep distance from each other. Um, I thought people crossed roads when they saw me for a reason, but maybe nowadays, you have to. So COVID has affected many people's relationships and in everyday life, and also, if you look at how COVID impact relationship in terms of with each other or with the world around us and with ourselves, and psychologically how it's affected us mentally, and so it is uh, quite an impact that it's had, on all of us. But we want to look at relationships in so many different ways, And I like some of these things when people come up with, like relationships and trust and trusting and hope, and um, when they produce all these different things, But it's such a vast area and such a big industry for so many people as well, where they give counseling and positive relationship, negative relationship, how to um, move forward, and business. And so it is an important part of our life. So it affects every day our mood, our health, our we respect, and so we move forward and all that. So it's interesting to real research, but basically how do we relate to everything, and in everything. So when we look at a house like that, we live in a house. So basically, if we explore more and move forward with this, the relationships with a house, for example, a house, we are related to a house in a way. We live in it, um, but it's silently serving us in a way. It's what we call a silent relationship, because it's giving us shelter, it's providing us with some comfort, and security and everything. So it does serve us in a way, but it's kind of a relationship. Then again, if you look at a car, we relate to a car sometimes people become a car themselves when they're sitting in the car and driving. They think, I am the car. We can lose our identity with it. But then again, car is serving us silently, getting us from A to B, or wherever, and it gives us that sense. But if you look at this one, this is interesting, because this is like a glorified chair basically to sit on, but it could quite easily be a position of power or anything like that. It's like a throne, and then it serves a purpose, and it's a chair, simply a simple chair in comparison. It's serving us, but it's a silent relationship. So I don't know what that was. I don't know why I get that. Silently serving. So being neutral, but they do give us a sense of like ownership, pride, power, position. So this, as we explore this area of relationships and all that, I will throw up things, and if something's come to your mind, then do share, or ask questions. But these are silent relationships. When we look at this picture and all this, and this is like, serving pets, different types of um, services that people provide for their pets. But basically, they think that, pet giving them joy and all that, but you're actually serving the pet. And it is a form of a service, like service with a smile. You can serve a pet, you can serve a master, your boss, you can serve customers, you can serve a country, you can serve, so all these, from a Santya ras, which we say a neutral kind of relationship, to basically a dasya kind of. So this is like a dasya, you're a servant. You're serving the pet, you're serving a master, so there's a dasya relationship. Then there is sakya, vatsalya, madhurya. And as we explore, Srila Prabhupada mentions that basically there are 12 types of relationships, and 7 are contra, like unfavorable relationships, like enemy. Being somebody is an enemy, like Kans was an enemy of Krishna, so that was a relationship, something that was as an enemy. And in our lives as well, we can have enemies. People may dislike us and be out of envy and jealousy and all sorts of things. So a lot of things play a part, and it becomes unfavorable. Sometimes relationships are manipulative or abusive or all sorts of things, so they can turn sour and bitter and all this sort of thing. So, but then 5 favorable relationships, which are friendly. Now, Arjuna was friendly towards Krishna. So Prabhupada said there are 5 favorable relationships and 7 contra and all that. There are, we can relate to the earth in some way, how we relate to our environment, how we relate when we go to the hospital, doctors, they're neutral relationships, or are they patient-doctor relationships? So there's such a vast area. Anyway, so we can elaborate, explore, and try and understand this as we go along in these classes. So I might just cover some areas of it, and if there is a need, we may do some things in the future, because um, this will not take us, to a certain extent only. So how can a relationship be constructive? I always feel that basically there are 2 types of relationship. One is like a constructive relationship, and one is a destructive relationship. So, I know I've gone through many relationships in my time, and then some have been constructive, where um, either they were supportive, when people are supportive, encouraging, or motivating, or inspiring. So many words like that come into mind. And then they're constructive relationship. But then there are destructive ones, when people start to become manipulative, and they become controlling, and they become treating you unfairly, and then based on race, color, skin, or all sorts of things come to play a part. Then personality clashes or whatever happens, and their motives change, and then suddenly, they become destructive relationships. So you can think about, maybe in your mind, or you can contribute, you can think about ways people relationship can be constructive, because we all want happy relationships. We don't want relationships that goes sour, bitter, and all that. But then, that's how life is in the material world. As we try to understand this aspect, and also how can it be destructive, um, and certainly, when people are in a relationship, I feel that when it's destructive is when a person's self-esteem is being lowered, either by being emotional, physical, psychological kind of. Sometimes it can be even spiritual kind of an abuse that may take place, and then it becomes destructive. And somebody's personality becomes, or the self-esteem gets lowered, and they'll lose their own confidence, and in life, then that becomes a bit destructive. Constructive is obviously something where you support each other, encourage each other, and especially in a family situation where we want to be supportive, but out of competition, out of jealousy, out of envy, or greed, sometimes these sort of things play a part, and then relationships can go sour. So it's but really, we want to explore and learn relationships from a Krishna conscious point of view, so make our journey through this life as easy as possible. But it's not always easy from a Krishna conscious point of view. Then we have to see that, if you look at this, so let's try and understand from a Krishna conscious point of view. If you look at this particular picture, what comes to your mind? It's actually massive big throne. Anybody wants to contribute? I don't really know if anybody is listening to me or not, but anyway.
Steps leading up to, I don't know, the throne, or your steps in Krishna consciousness.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, you look at a picture, and it's actually a throne, like you say, and it's a scene which is set in Mahabharata, and it could be the throne of Hastinapur, and that in itself, the throne was serving a purpose, and it's silently serving. But when you think about, what can one say about the throne of Hastinapur? Played a big part in the whole Mahabharata, the whole history. And if you look at how did Bhishma Dev regarded this particular throne, he practically, wanted to, well, he vowed that he would stand for the throne no matter who came and sat on that throne, but he would protect it and see to the welfare of it. But to the point that, he had to even go against the Pandavas and Krishna, and the throne served that purpose basically. But Bhishma Dev, and his whole lifetimes, he went in serving that throne. And then again, Duryodhan, how did he see this particular throne? Out of greed and envy, and everything came out of him as a person who was out to destroy the Pandavas and hang on to that throne. And then Dhritarashtra was so attached to it as well that he was blinded by it, and he got attached to it so much. So, from a spiritual point of view, start to relate to that throne, and Bhishma Dev's relationship with it, Duryodhan's, Dhritarashtra's, and then later on Pandavas were obviously enthroned on it. So I use the word throne and enthroned on it. So, when we ask questions like, was Duryodhan wrong in I can't read this, but yeah, throne of Hastinapur. So Duryodhan, was he wrong or not in fighting for that throne there? So we can ask questions like that, and we start to understand from a spiritual point of view as well how personalities are related to different things, different events. we ourselves can start to see. So in order to understand more on the aspect of relationship, okay, we can talk about material relationships, and in so many ways, there's so much stuff out there, so much counseling goes on and all that. But we want to see from this angle. And so from a Krishna conscious point of view, I thought that we would start by looking at this chapter 1 of Bhagavad-Gita, and when it observing the armies on the battlefield. So that's where we start. If we want proper guidance, we go to Sadhu, Shastra, Guru, Vakya, and all that. So in understanding this area of relationships and all that, and how to be happy in our relationships and understand our relationships, we can start here. So obviously I selected 9 verses first, and in these verses some things stand out, like Dhritarashtra said, "Oh Sanjay, after my sons and the sons of Pandu assembled in the place of the pilgrimage at Kurukshetra, designed to, what did they do?" So he's talking about his sons and the sons of Pandu. He obviously related differently with his own sons and the sons of Pandu. He was very biased, and he was obviously out of jealousy, and he didn't regard the sons of Pandu so close, but he certainly had strong attachment for his own son Duryodhana. And he, in fact, was not only physically blind, but even spiritually and emotionally. He was just blinded by Duryodhana's greed. And then Sanjay said, "Oh, king." So obviously Sanjay is looking upon him as a king, and he is serving him. So Sanjay is a servant, serving him as a minister or whatever in his position to trust her. So, and then it says, Duryodhana went to his teacher and spoke the following words. So Duryodhana went to his teacher. "Oh, teacher." So there's a teacher and student kind of relationship, but it's a weird kind of relationship because Duryodhana is proud, and he's undermining his own teacher anyway. He's dragged him onto this battlefield. And also this battlefield, Kurukshetra, is a silent kind of serving concept, as we can look at it. And he's going to soak up all the blood of this Kurukshetra war, in a way. 2 armies are standing on it, just like the throne, but it's Kurukshetra here. And then, so he went to the teacher and says, "Oh, behold the great sons of Pandu." Right? So he says later on, "I got many heroic bowmen, equal in fighting." So he's proud. He's looking upon his other warriors as heroes. They're great, heroic, powerful fighters. Drishtaketu, Kashiraja, Kunti Bhoja, like that. And then he's also saying that, these are all my powerful fighters standing up with me. And he is proudly saying that, what about you? Let me tell you about the captains who are especially qualified. So so many people are willingly giving up their lives, and he's quite prepared to say, look about Karna. Karna as well. Karna was his best friend. He gave up his life to stand up next to Duryodhana. Rightfully, wrongfully, we might debate, but he gave his life. And then also, he's saying here that they're prepared to give up their lives or prepared to fight, lay down their lives for my sake, Duryodhana is saying. So people are willing to give up his life if they're looking upon Duryodhana as some kind of personality, but he is obviously manipulated the whole situation in such a way that he's dragged all these people on the Kurukshetra war. So as we explore this, we start with Bhagavad-Gita, obviously, and we start to look at all these different relationships, how they're being played out, and how people have contributed. So further into Bhagavad-Gita then, Arjuna says to Krishna, in this verse here, you know, karpanya dosha pahata swabhava prashami tvam dharma samuda cheta yat shreyashin nishchite bruhitanme shishyastem hamsadi mama tvam prapanam shishyaste sadinam. So when he says shishya, I'm your disciple. So he's taken, now I am confused about my duty and have lost all composure because of the miserly weakness. In this condition, I'm asking you to tell me for certain what is best for me. Now I am your disciple and a soul surrendered to me. Please instruct me. So up till now, Krishna and Arjuna had this friendly relationship. They're just friends. And Krishna played that part of a friend. But from this point onward, in the Gita, Bhagavad-Gita, Krishna and Arjuna's relationship changes. Krishna becomes like a spiritual master, and he guides Arjuna. He said, I cannot be a friend anymore because now you surrender, you're like a disciple. So a relationship has changed, you see, from this point onwards. And then also, as we go further, what Krishna is sort of saying in this verse, 6:5, Udaret Atma Atmanam Natmanam Avasadayet Atmaiva hi Atmano Bandhur. There is the word. Atmaneva Ripur Atmana. So here, Bandhu is a friend, and one must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. So here we see a relationship. Krishna is already beginning to advise, and we start to understand that we have a relationship with our own mind, in fact, and it can either be a friend or it can be an enemy. So Krishna is advising. So we're moving forward in understanding relationships and with our own selves and our own mind, and how Krishna is saying either you make it a friend or an enemy of your own self. So what relationships are highlighted in the first 9 verses above? So we covered, how there were relationships of Duryodhan with Karna, friends, teacher, um, king, servant, all those, the relationship came up. And then how do the relationship between Krishna and Arjuna change from the points onwards? So I'm asking these questions, and you can, by all means, I've covered them, but you can dwell on them. You can answer them or you can contribute. So are we, or have we been prepared to become a disciple? Just like Arjun. Arjun at a certain point when he's bewildered and he's no longer, he's very confused, then he's prepared to become a disciple. So are we prepared to become a disciple at some point in our life? Have we come to a point where we are bewildered like Arjun? Do we think we need a spiritual guide? If something that you can think about, if so, from when or whom or how? So some of the questions you can ask or you can try and find answers to. This is in your own personal life, because I'm trying to work on this to see how we can help you in our personal lives. Is it important? Is it important? I mean, do you feel that it is? Do we have a relationship with Krishna? I mean, do we can explore these as we go along. Do we want a relationship with Krishna? Again, it's a question and areas that we can investigate. So to gain more understanding and get clarification and guidance from Srila Prabhupada, in one of his lectures explains, so his Prabhupada, I didn't want to just speculate on these relationships, business and all that. I wanted to see how we can get guidance from someone, a self-realized person like Prabhupada. And he's explaining, so I've got this here. If anybody wants to read, then please feel free. Otherwise, I'll continue. I don't mind.
I'll read if you want.
Yeah, go on.
Do you want me to read the whole yellow? Yeah. We have got different relationship with the Supreme Lord constitutionally. Every one of us. The relationship as we experience in this material world, just like you are my brother, or she is my sister, or he is my father, he is my, so many relationships we have got. So all these relationships are calculated into five. There are practically, there are 12 relationships. 7 relationships are contra, against, and it's just like you are my enemy, I want to kill you, you want to kill me. That is also one of the relationships. But this is contra. This is not a favorable. This is called vivarata. Vivarata. Hasyaya.
Vivarta.
Vivarta. Hasya, something, I see you. I begin to laugh, or something you see in me. You begin to laugh. So there are different. Altogether, there are 12 relationships in every activities of our life. Out of that, 5 relationship is very favorable. What is that? Not 5 exactly, but yes, 5. Just like I am sitting here on this dais, so I have got some relationship. What, what is that relationship? That is dais is giving me service silently. Oh, lost the page.
Oh, it's okay. Sorry. Yeah.
There is relationship. There is a relationship. I am comfortably sitting here. So this is one relationship. The next relationship is that one wants to serve me, or I want to serve him. Out of love, I want to, or just like some of you, Swamiji, I have brought you some fruit for you. This is out of love. That means you want to serve me. So this relationship with the dais and the relationship who comes and brings forth some fruit for me, that is higher. That is called dasya, or friendship. So the silent relationship, the servitude relationship, the friendly relationship, then paternal relationship, then conjugal relationship.
Yeah,
you.
so this is, I didn't want to just speculate and produce my own kind of presentation, but Prabhupada is also talking about relationships here and how some are favorable, some are not favorable. So this is where I got from, and it's good to take guidance from spiritual master. So do you want to carry on?
Okay. So these relationships which we find here in this material world, they are reflections of the original relationships with Krishna. Because in the Vedanta Sutra, you find Janmades Asya Yataha. Everything, whichever you find in this material world, that is born from the absolute truth. So in the absolute truth, there is the relationship. These relationships are which we are expecting here, but they are experiencing here, but they are perverted because suppose I accept somebody as a master and I'm serving, and as soon as the salary stops, my service is not also stopped. Therefore it is perverted. So there is a girl I love, or there is a man I love, or as soon as there is some misunderstanding, we break. So that relationship, that conjugal relationship, that paternal relationship, that friendly relationship.
Yeah, so here Prabhupada is saying that, this is from one of his lectures actually, and I found it quite interesting that, he's saying that everything whichever we find in the material world is actually born from the absolute truth. It's actually a reflection. So all the relationships that we experience, but they're all perverted. Prabhupada is saying here that, we get frustrated in our relationships and that we break up and all that. So when we when the relationship come to an end and there's no motive or purpose left in it, then obviously, so how can we understand our relationship better? So with ourselves, with others in our lives, or with Krishna? So how can we understand? And this is one way of trying to understand that everything is born out of the absolute truth, but we're not connected with the absolute truth. So that's why we're kind of frustrated. How can we make them more positive? Or how can we make them a bit more constructive? So as I mentioned earlier on, the constructive or positive relationship, or how can we make them more fruitful in that way? So from your experience, how have your relationship gone? So you might think in your own personal experience in everyday life, how would you have liked them to be or have? You can dwell on it. You can contribute, somebody if wants to, by all means. But I'm just exploring the whole concept here, an idea. So this is very important. I highlighted this, that, so relationships are perverted. So, okay. But just to move forward a little bit, and just to kind of conclude, and this is only an area I want to explore. Maybe in future we can discuss a bit more different areas. This is from Bhagavad-Gita 13:8, and I kind of highlighted this area, this bit here, where he says, freedom from entanglement with children, wife, home, and the rest, even-mindedness. So this freedom from entanglement with children, wife, home. So somebody might actually say that, oh, does it mean that, we should not care about our children, wife, family, and should just be so detached and no uncaring? Should we become uncaring about it and all that? But no, Prabhupada actually in the purport expands and explains, as for detachment from children, wife, and home, it is not meant that one should have no feeling for these. They are natural objects of affection. But when they are not favorable to spiritual progress, then one should not be attached to them. So we find that, in many people's lives, this has happened actually. And some amazing, great personalities, great devotees, who their situation became very unfavorable. Either the family members, they couldn't get along, or they all passed away. And I remember telling a story of Karmabai. Somehow, unfortunately, all her relationship, lost all her relationship. They all passed away. She was left on her own. But then she dedicated her life to serving Jagannath. And then her khichdi is very famous in Jagannath Puri. So, so the best process for making a home pleasant is Krishna consciousness. If one is full Krishna consciousness, he can make his home very happy, because this process of Krishna consciousness is very easy. One need only chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare, accept the remnants of foods offered to Krishna, and have some discussions on books like Bhagavad-Gita. So if we do these sort of things, like, read Bhagavad-Gita, study Srimad Bhagavatam, engage in deity worship, so these sort of 4 things will make one happy. And we should train the members of his family in this way. So Prabhupada is recommending that we help our family members, but sometimes that's not very easy. Some family members can sit down morning, evening, chant Hare Krishna, follow the 4 principles, and so I won't read all these things. But ultimately, we can lead a life in Krishna consciousness for the family. And Prabhupada is not saying that you just have to detach yourself and start to, become totally unrelated with the whole world around you. You don't have to isolate yourself. You learn to insulate, yeah, but not isolate. So in that way, then, we can one should be detached from happiness and distress of the family. We can remain slightly detached, but some within our family will have experienced all these things anyway. So to progress further, we can explore how we can relate to Krishna and how Krishna relates to everything and everyone. So maybe in the future, then we can see how actually Krishna, how we can relate to Krishna, or how Krishna actually does relate to, just because as we had read in relation to the following verse. So this verse, next verse, becomes very significant. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam sathaiva bhajamyam mam vartamanu vartante manushe partha sarvasaha. As all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. So in future, if we do explore this area of how Krishna relates with particularly, especially with his devotees and non-devotees, because he did relate to Duryodhana in some way. He related with Bhishma Dev in some way. So we can explore, and Kunti Devi as well. So this verse may become very important. So I'll stop there now. Hari Bol and Hare Krishna. If you got any questions or any comments, then by all means, you can share. Thank you, Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. That was actually quite interesting how you went through that.
Yeah, yeah. I hope, because it became such a vast area to explore, and it's an area where you can maybe develop further as we go along in our understanding. So I hope that helps.
I did.
Thank
Okay,
you,
that's teacher in me coming out. You know, I've always been a teacher. You know.
Yeah, I can see that, Prabhu. Thank you. Thank you
Yes, really enjoyed it. Thank
for
you.
thoughts.
Sorry, Karan. Yeah.
Nice, fruitful thoughts. We can really ponder on our relationship with the persons around us, even with our deities and everything.
Mm.
Thank you.
Yeah, but hope.
Thank you. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, because lots of people,
Okay.
nowadays they care for things and ignore people, which should be the other way around. So
Yeah, that's true. You know, we've all experienced that. You know, people love objects more than people around them.
Their mobile phone more than people.
Yeah, but then you have to decide whether that's helping one in progress in spiritual life and going to Krishna, or if it's a hindrance, like we've seen in many cases. Even Kunti Devi is praying that she was obviously thinking about, she had two families, like her own family and then Dhritarashtra's family. So she was concerned, but she was saying, to praying to Krishna, that I hope these don't become an impediment in my spiritual journey. So that's how we have to sometimes look at, and yeah, I've had some very good friends, and sometimes they were in fact very, I thought they were, the devotee relationships as well. And sometimes you have to realize and decide that with this person, I think I'm just going to say Hari Bol from far and carry on my life. Sometimes you have to do that. Because even though sometimes, sometimes people have come within ISKCON, Prabhupada, they've related with Prabhupada. Prabhupada himself said, he said, oh, look, this person is walking away from here because he feels that these relationships are not very significant. But other relationships are more.
Krishna Prabhu.
Haribo?
Prabhu Sitaram, yeah.
Haribo Sitaram. Jai.
I have to add something, Prabhu.
Yeah. Come on. Sorry, can't hear you.
Oh, he's muted for some.
Oh, Prabhupada says that a devotee is a friend and he has no enemies. So as we are leading our life as members of the public, we see there are different level of devotees. There are different level of person living. Just as Prabhupada says in one of his on Bhagavatam, he says that you should, as a devotee, always have a smiling face. A smiling face, you smile with everyone. This is a quality of a devotee. Okay? Then those person not give you any respect, that does not matter. You do your duty and Krishna will be very happy. This is my comments, Prabhu.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that's very important because, wherever we go as devotees of Krishna, we are representing Krishna. We want everybody to become favorable to Krishna. We're not trying to repel anyone. So we have to, like you say, a smile will attract everyone, and smile breaks down any barriers as well. So we have to move forward with that attitude. Thank you very much, Siddharam Prabhu, for sharing that. Yeah, no, that is very important. We don't want enemies, but we have to relate just as Krishna reciprocates as they surrender. That's how he reciprocates as well. So sometimes we don't want enemies, but they just come sometimes.
No. What's saying? When he is an enemy, but you do not think bad of him. No. Mm-hmm. Then that person will think, and Prabhupada says somewhere that this person will change his mentality, and then he will become. I have a neighbor. I like to share it. It's because you have never heard. His family and my family was not in good terms during more than 50 years, Prabhu. More than 50 years. I was some 10 or 12 years when this relationship broke out. Now that person, his son, approached me, oh Sitaram Prabhu, now we should give all these things. Because his mothers, his elder fathers, they were so a bit bad, And now they have approached me and told me, Prabhuji, where your daughter will be getting married. And I told him, don't worry, when your daughter will be getting married, I will invite you, your family, and your 4 or 5 brothers. So, as I told you in the beginning, a devotee has no enemies. A devotee is a friend. It's a qualification of a devotee. So we must maintain this and have a very good smile that attracts our friends or whoever we meet. This we have learned from Srila Prabhupada. Okay, Prabhu, Haribol.
Okay, yeah. Thank you very much for sharing. Okay, Chanti Mataji, Haribol, Hare Krishna. I'll let you carry on. Thank you.